The entire Batman series is essentially a Luciferian view that the devil is the savior, a viewpoint that holds true to many superhero storylines. Take for instance the Marvel movie Thor. The movie starts out with a depiction of a city of gold, which resembles a peaceful heavenly environment. Pay attention to the terminology.
I have sacrificed much to achieve peace. Thor, through your arrogance and stupidity, you have opened these peaceful realms and innocent lives to the horror and devastation of war. You are a vain, greedy, cruel boy.
And you are an old man and a fool!
You're unworthy! Father. I now take from you your power! And I cast you out!
Please open your eyes.
Oh no, this is Earth, isn't it?
Where did it come from?
There is only one who's the epitome of greed and vanity, who traded peace for war and was cast down to earth.
Your ancestors called it magic. And you call it science. I come from a place where they're one and the same.
He has disobeyed his king. His fate is in his own hands now.
I will end this.
A parallel story to Lucifer disobeying his father and king, once again making him the hero, the savior of Earth. Another noteworthy point is that magic was equated to science, where they are one and the same, erasing the line that divides them. This is a common thread that not only runs through the various storylines, but is at the heart of the comic writers. Alan Moore, who has written Batman, Superman, The Watchmen, and V for Vendetta, is a practicing magician that incorporates magic in all his stories.
On my 40th birthday, rather than merely bore my friends by having anything as mundane as a midlife crisis, I decided it might be more interesting to actually terrify them by going completely mad and declaring myself to be a magician. This had been something that had been coming for a while. It seemed to be a logical end step in my career as a writer. And the problem is that with magic, being in many respects a science of language, you have to be very careful what you say. There is some confusion as to what magic actually is. I think that this can be cleared up if you just look at the very earliest descriptions of magic. Magic, in its earliest form, is often referred to as the art. I believe that this is completely literal. I believe that magic is art, and that art, whether that be writing, music, sculpture, or any other form, is literally magic. Art is, like magic, the science of manipulating symbols, words or images, to achieve changes in consciousness. The very language of magic seems to be talking as much about writing or art as it is about supernatural events. A grimoire, for example, the Book of Spells, is simply a fancy way of saying grammar. Indeed, to cast a spell is simply to spell, to manipulate words, to change people's consciousness. And I believe that this is why an artist or writer is the closest thing in the contemporary world that you are likely to see to a shaman.
Alan Moore is a writer and magician from Northampton. He's a stranger to hairdressers and worships his very own God in his very own way, blurring the lines between religious belief, magic, and the power of the creative imagination. Alan's familiar on his journey of faith and worship is an ancient Roman glove puppet snake called Glykon.
So how did you first go about worshipping Glykon, and what form does the worship take?
Well, it's irresistible. He's certainly the coolest, most rock and roll looking god that I have ever seen. I just fell in love at first sight.
What's in it for you, though, following Glykon?
We're all of us different emotionally, we're all different physically, intellectually. It would be really odd if we were all the same spiritually. So, I mean, that's why I have a problem with religion per se, because religion, the very word, It comes from the same root word as ligature and ligament, and it means to be bound together in one belief, which I find a bit creepy and a bit unnatural. There are genuine worries that, certainly in America, that this could actually negate science, that it could drag us back into a new dark ages.
Alan Moore uses occult magic in all his work and openly admits riding under the state of possession.
I decided I was going to become a magician. All of a sudden, the lightning bolt hit. It all got a bit strange. For months after that, I was, looking back, probably in some borderline schizophrenic state. I found myself seemingly in conversation with an entity, its presence that surrounded my head moving and speaking lucidly to me. I was very spaced out. God-struck. You babble for a while like an idiot. I must have been unbearable for 2 or 3 months. I've integrated that into the rest of my life.
His primary target is the youth, which he aims to indoctrinate with the occult.
And you've got kids who are supposed to make some sense of this huge and imposing world that's looming over us when they've barely been able to make sense of the world that we've had for the past 20 years. And to do that, I don't really think personally the education system's up to it. What I think is that people these days get their information from all of the much despised sort of vulgar media sources that people have been trying so hard to ban for the past 40 years. Television, movies, comics, rock and roll records. That is the main way that kids sort of soak up all this info. So if in these sort of basically silly sort of funny books and things I can actually get over some information, if I can help the education process in a bright, four-colour comic book way that kids are actually going to want to read, then I'd say that's enough of a contribution. If I thought I'd done that, I think I'd be happy.